Welcome in to Duval Daily presented by GenJag.com. I'm Jordan Lugo. Thank you so much for being here. The streak is over for your Jacksonville Jaguars. They had lost 8 straight in Nashville, Tennessee to the Tennessee Titans. No longer. They dismantled the Titans today in Nashville, ended the 8-game losing streak, got back in the hunt for the playoffs. It's a beautiful thing. We've got James checking in saying Jags win, DTWD, love it. Jags fan saying Trevor Lawrence was outstanding. Jeff's checking in. Harry Potter. Who knew Harry Potter had a Jaguars avatar on YouTube? Love it. He says Trevor freaking Lawrence. All right. We're having a good time here. If you couldn't tell, this is a live show. We are recapping the Jaguars' victory in Week 14 over the Tennessee Titans in Nashville. Again, breaking an 8-game losing streak in Nashville. They had lost every game to the Titans in Tennessee since 2013. That's the last time they had beaten the Titans in Nashville at Nissan Field. Huge win for the Jaguars. They were desperate for a victory, right? They were 4-8. Another loss, especially against the Titans in this situation, would have pretty much ended any chances the Jaguars had at making the playoffs in 2022. It's still slim to none, people, but we're going to sit here and we're going to celebrate a really big win for your Jacksonville Jaguars this week. And there's a lot that has to go right the rest of the season for this to matter, right? For this win to really mean something in the grand scheme of things. But for the next 24 hours, you as a Jaguars fan should celebrate this victory. It was a huge one for the Jaguars. Backs up against the wall, divisional opponent, a team you never beat, especially on the road in Nashville. Feels like a big statement win for a lot of people. Doug Peterson, as the Jaguars head coach, kind of trying to flip the culture. Trevor Lawrence trying to will his team to victory. The defense rebounding in a big way. We're going to dive deeper into the tape of this one tomorrow morning and provide some more detailed analysis, perhaps look at some of the areas that the Jaguars were deficient in this contest. But for right now, we're going to talk about the good things. We're going to talk about this win, right? The Jaguars went into Nashville, took down the Titans 36-22. They withstood an early onslaught from the Titans. The Titans offense was having a really good day early on with Derrick Henry, with some different things. Jumped out in the first quarter, put 14 points on the board. After that, it was all Jaguars. Jags scored 13 points in the second, 13 points in the third, and they were able to effectively put the Titans away prior to the start of the fourth quarter. They finished the game 36-22. Jaguars win. They're now 5-8. Titans are now 7-6. The Jaguars will face the Titans again in the final week of the regular season. That could be for all the marbles. That could be for the division lead. Could also be a wild card spot on the line. And we'll dive into all those fun scenarios and all that stuff lately. The Cowboys, they barely escaped with a victory over the Texans today. That's who the Jaguars face next week. But let's talk about this game right now, right? Let's talk about it. We've got a bunch of folks checking in saying, Timothy, great win. Let's do it again in December. It is December, right? Let's do it one more time in December against the Titans. Actually, that one's going to be in January, isn't it? Final week of the regular season. Jeff says, can't believe I've had to tell people T-Law wasn't a bust on Twitter. Yeah, I can't believe it either. No reason to have to be defending Trevor Lawrence over the last month or so. He's been unbelievable. But like I said, Titans came out and they came out hungry and they came out with energy. They looked like the aggressor in this game. The Jaguars withstood that early onslaught, like I mentioned, and they overcame their early deficit, and they did a lot more than that. Trevor Lawrence, I think you have to start with Trevor Lawrence when you talk about this football game, right? Unbelievable. Probably his best game as a pro, if you have to look at it. And you've been able to say that myriad times throughout this season. Like, oh, that was Trevor Lawrence's best performance. No, maybe this was Trevor Lawrence's best performance. Well, I'll tell you what, today he set his career mark for passing yards with 368. He had 3 touchdowns through the air. He had another touchdown with his legs, 4 total touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 121.9 quarterback rating for Trevor Lawrence in his second year in the NFL, first year in Doug Peterson's system. It's now been what? I mean, you're stacking a lot of games here. Trevor wasn't amazing against Detroit last week, but he really didn't have the opportunity to be amazing when you talk about all the mistakes that were going on around him with the drops, with Cam Robinson not being able to block James Houston, with the defense being inept last week. But it's 5 straight good performances for Trevor Lawrence, correct? 4 or 5? Go back to the Raiders, Chiefs, Ravens, Lions. He played well. It was the rest of the team around him that didn't get the job done. And then a big statement, 5th win here, or excuse me, 5th big game by Trevor Lawrence and 5th win of the season for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He was on the money. And you talk about missing almost the entire week of practice. No practice on Wednesday, no practice on Thursday, no running game for the Jaguars today. 25 carries for 60 yards, 2.4 yards per carry, but none of that mattered for Trevor Lawrence. Career high in passing, 4 touchdowns total. This was a masterful performance by a young franchise quarterback who over the last month and a little bit of change has looked like one of the best quarterbacks in the entire league. The Jaguars are now 3-2 over the last 5 games. Trevor Lawrence has played well in every single one of those games, 30 of 42 today, for 368 yards and 4 total touchdowns. Beautiful for Trevor. If you're a Jags fan, doesn't get any better than that from your quarterback. Evan Ingram, though, talk about a guy who he got off to a slow start in this contest. Yet he caught 11 of 15 targets for 162 yards and 2 touchdowns, a career day for Evan Ingram, who had a little bit of a stinker last week, had a rough start early in this game, not able to haul in a couple of contested catches. And then you also talk about Zay Jones, right? This is a guy who, against the Ravens, had a career-defining type of performance, right? Unbelievable day. Came out last week, a complete stinker against the Lions. And then today, good game. Really good game from Zay Jones. 8 catches on 12 targets for 77 yards and a touchdown, a critical touchdown, and a really impressive touchdown. Ball was bobbling around a little bit, didn't look great. He was able to get control of the football, get his right foot down, then get his left foot down with about a millimeter of space in between his foot and the out of bounds line in the end zone. But it was a big catch for Zay. Big score for the Jaguars. Got a lot of excited people in the chat right now, and you love to see it. Jags fan 2001 saying, let's beat Dallas next week. Absolutely. And we'll talk about that plenty in the upcoming week. The Jaguars, with this win, have now put themselves in position to continue playing competitive football, to continue playing football that matters in December. It is December 11th right now, and the Jaguars are not mathematically eliminated from the playoffs. And they're not practically eliminated from the playoffs either. Yeah, it's going to be really difficult for them to finish 9-8 and sneak into the playoffs. They're 5-8 right now, but they did what they needed to do today. And now they have an opportunity to continue playing meaningful football in December. And that's what you love to see. Joe says the Jaguars D looked motivated today. Finally. Yes, I would agree with you. And I wouldn't say they've always looked unmotivated. I think at times they've looked out-coached, out-talented, out-efforted, I guess, would fall under the motivational part of it. But yeah, not today. The Jaguars forced 4 turnovers, and they didn't commit a turnover of their own. When you win the turnover battle 4-0, you're usually going to win that football game. I do remember a game, I think back in 2008, maybe 2009 with the Jaguars, where I think the Jags committed 5 turnovers against the Browns at the bank. And and were able to win that game, but you don't see that often. 9 times out of 10, maybe 9.5 times out of 10, maybe 9.9 times out of 10, if you win the turnover battle 4 to nothing, you're going to win the game. And that is something that we talked about in the keys to victory this week. I don't normally bring up turnover battle in keys to victory because it's obvious. It's like, duh. But the Jags this year, when they have been able to be competitive in the turnover battle, they've been competitive in games, and you saw that again today. Obviously, they were more than competitive in the turnover battle. You had Dewey Wingard picking off a big pass early in this one, which was just fantastic. You talk about Andrew Wingard, his effort and energy that he brings to the football field. It's been impressive this year. There's nothing else to say about like it's been good. It's been really good. You had Shaquille Quarterman forcing a fumble on the sideline on Derrick Henry. That's huge, obviously. You had a missed snap as well. Direct snap to Derrick Henry didn't go well. Arden Key was able to get in there and disrupt it, and also pick the ball up. He was the key on that play, but really the key was the Titans not being able to handle the snap. And then you also had Dewan Smoot with a fumble recovery. It was beautiful. Casey says we got Hawaii in the house. Awesome. Ken says Wingard actually makes the whole defense better. I'll tell you what, I don't know that he makes the defense better consistently, but he brings energy. He has an infectious energy that he certainly does bring to the field. And you've seen that. I think in a perfect world, you would love to have Andre Cisco available. And the fact that the Jaguars defense did this without Andre Cisco, it's huge. It's huge. And can we talk about, the Titans are not the best offense in the world right now? Yes, that's true, but we're not going to harp on that fact right now. We're going to celebrate the fact that the Jaguars, regardless of who they were playing, were able to do the job. This is the NFL. It's tough to win every week. The Jaguars very rarely beat the Titans, much less in Nashville. This is a huge win for the Jags. Keeps the hope alive, keeps the season alive. And we talk about the turnovers on defense. How about the pass rush? And this was a game. We talked about it again. And keys to victory, Dennis Daly, Nicholas Petit Frere, these offensive tackles not playing good football. And you saw it today. I said if there was ever a week for Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker and Mike Caldwell, the defensive coordinator, to figure things out, it was this week. And they did it. They did it in a big way. You want to talk about sacks? The Jaguars had 4 of them. Arden Key had a sack. Josh Allen had a sack. Trayvon Walker had a big sack. And it looked like it was, same old Jags early on. You had the Trayvon Walker penalty on third down that took it from 3rd and 10 to 3rd and 5, gave the Titans an easier chance at it, but he bounced back in a big way. Uh, I haven't been able to fully analyze his performance, but I'll do that in the morning. But I can tell you he was flashing consistently throughout this game. Trayvon Walker was. It looked like a switch flipped a little bit for him from an effort standpoint, and he really got after it. Trayvon Walker did. Josh Allen did his part. Arden Key did his part. Dewan Smoot did his part. Saw Roy Robertson Harris doing some things as well. I'll tell you what, Tyson Campbell, he had his worst game of the season against Detroit. No surprise from Tyson because this is a guy that normally does play really good football for the Jaguars. But he came back and had a huge day, had 2 or 3 pass breakups where he was just stride for stride with his man, was in perfect position, located the ball, and made plays on it. You love it. Bliss Tendo says Titans O line needs some Wheaties. Yeah, their offensive tackles are in shambles right now. And again, Taylor Lewan's injured, which he's been injured a lot throughout his career for the Titans at left tackle. But the Jags, they had the opportunity to go do something good against this Titans offensive line, and they did it. They've had a lot of opportunities against offensive lines that aren't great this year, and they don't always take advantage of those. And they did take advantage today, which was huge. All right. So yeah, Ken brings it up. He says if we win out, the Jaguars, and the Titans lose 2 more games, the Jags win the division. Never give up. Absolutely. So the beautiful thing about that is the Titans, yeah, they have to lose 2 more games, but you play them again in the final week of the regular season. And it's possible that the Jaguars will be favored against the Jets and the Texans, 2 of those games. They will not be favored against Dallas next week and Jacksonville. But you beat Dallas and everything's right in front of you. So it'll be fun. Blistindo says Campbell is faster than I thought. Yeah, Tyson Campbell's a speedy corner. I'm not sure um, perhaps why you didn't think he was fast, but yeah, he's like legit high 4.3s, 4.4s type of runner. He's a fast guy, and he's got great length, great stride length as well. Ben says, I don't care if we don't make the playoffs. This win has made the season bearable. Yeah, I hear you. I think you want to keep competing. You want it to be more than bearable. But having 5 wins now through 13 games on the year certainly is a market improvement from what we've seen. I think you want to see that improvement continue because with young teams, if you go into the offseason, regardless if they make the playoffs or not, if they go into the offseason playing more winning football and more good football from Trevor Lawrence and from the rest of this team, uh, heading into the offseason, regardless if they make the playoffs, that's going to carry over for a young team that has a head coach who knows what he's doing and Doug Peterson, really good motivator, really good overall just players coach that knows how to relate with his players, communicate with his players, and get them fired up. If they're able to see the tangible evidence down the stretch here, they've got um, they've got 4 games left. If they're able to see that tangible evidence of them getting better, of them being a more competitive team, and they've been competitive all year, but a team that can actually win some of these games, that will stick with a lot of these young players throughout the offseason, and it will build momentum. Now, you've got to capitalize on that. You've got to work your ass off all off season. You've got to continue to train and improve. You've got to add more talent to this roster, all these things. But make no mistake about it. If you're able to carry this momentum and, win 2 out of your next 4 games or whatever it may be, and look like a competitive team going into the offseason, you're going to feel a lot better. And this young team will have momentum. DN says, still need to draft a corner. Yeah. Well, you either need to draft one or find one in free agency. I think when you talk about this cornerback class coming up in the draft, you love what you see, especially in the first couple rounds. There's a lot of talent at corner in this upcoming draft. In my latest mock draft, I had the Jaguars taking Christian Gonzalez in the first round. I encourage y'all to go check him out. But go check out Cam Smith, Joey Porter Jr., Keely Ringo, Devin Witherspoon, Clark Phillips. There are so many good corners in this class. I didn't even name all of them, but that's a handful of them y'all can go check out. Murtaza says, is the run game a concern or just the Titans' defensive line? Oh, it's absolutely a concern. The Jaguars have not been able to get the running game going um, since they played the Raiders, really, for the most part. And some of that has been Travis Etienne's health. I think most of it really has been the Jaguars' offensive line has really been struggling in the run game. The Titans kind of were able to dictate the Jaguars out of running the ball today, which, if you want to force Trevor Lawrence to drop back and throw it, maybe 2 or 3 months ago, if you're a Jaguars fan, you're like, no, we need more balance. But look, Trevor Lawrence is carrying the team right now. And so if you're going to make Trevor Lawrence drop back and throw it, if you're the opposing team, I think in a lot of situations, the Jaguars are going to feel really good about that because they feel confident in Trevor Lawrence and they feel mostly confident in their pass catchers. Obviously, last week was a down week. This week looked a little bit more like what you've gotten used to seeing from some of those players that are catching the ball from Trevor Lawrence. Blizz Tendo says, I'm a bit worried about ETN being MIA lately, injury aside. Yeah, for me, again, he hasn't been given a lot of room to work with lately. None of the Jaguars runners have, and that's going to be on the offensive line, certainly on the run blocking up front. You talk about Phil Rauscher as the Jaguars offensive line coach. Talk about all these high-priced offensive linemen, big draft picks. they've done a good job in pass protection for the most part this year, and they've been pretty good in the blocking department for a lot of the year. But it has been about the last 3 or 4 games where you just don't see a lot of room for Travis Etienne to work with. And if teams are just going to load up to try to stop Travis Etienne, Trevor Lawrence is going to be able to take advantage of them. That's the bottom line. I mean, if you load up and try to stop the run against the Jaguars, the way Trevor Lawrence is playing, you're going to end up regretting it for the most part. Yeah. Jeffrey says O-line can't run block at all. Right now, you're right. They are not doing a good job run blocking. And I will give credit to the Titans defense, right? Like Mike Vrabel has a very aggressive defensive front. They like to mix it up. They like to give you different looks. They make it difficult. They shoot gaps, all that stuff. But it's been too much of a trend to just kind of sweep that under the mat. And we don't want to harp on the negatives too much here right now because we're talking about the Jaguars picking up a huge win against the Titans in Nashville. First win in Nashville since 2013, 36-22. The Jaguars, after the first quarter, really, really stuck it to the Titans. And Trevor Lawrence had a career day. A lot of players on defense probably had their best career days. Foye Oluokun had a big day. Devin Lloyd started off a little slow, but then it looked like he hung in there and started playing a little bit better. We'll take a look at how he played with Chad Muma, not available in this one. But yeah, lots of sacks for the Jaguars, lots of quarterback hits, tackles for loss, passes defended. Trey Herndon came in and he had been inactive for a couple weeks. He made some big plays for the Jaguars. It was a thing of beauty. Tyson Campbell, 3 pass breakups. Ben says 5 straight good games from Lawrence. Yeah, that's what I was just talking about. You're not going to look at the Lions' performance and say, "Wow, that was unbelievable." But did Trevor Lawrence do anything negative in that one? Not really. I mean, he didn't get a lot of opportunities, and when he did, you saw a lot of dropped passes. You saw Cam Robinson getting worked by James Houston. So yeah, I agree with you. I think it has been, 5 straight weeks of good Trevor Lawrence. Robert says Cam is no $16 million a year tackle. Yeah. Well, he's actually making $18 million a year. So I can agree with you there. Zensri says cannot wait to have Calvin Ridley next season. Yeah, big time. No question about it. Jeff says love how T-Law is responding to other teams chirping on him. Yeah, he is. Yes, he is. He's responded in such a big way. And this is the Trevor Lawrence the Jaguars drafted, first overall pick. It takes time for quarterbacks in this league, especially when you have a completely incompetent head coach for your first year. It's not easy to be a really good quarterback in this league, despite what you've seen from some other young guys, over the past 5, 6 years from some other young quarterbacks. Those quarterbacks that do really well to start are blessed generally with fantastic situations. Trevor Lawrence was not blessed with that in 2021. And in 2022, while he has a fantastic situation from a coaching standpoint, he does have Christian Kirk, he does have some weapons. It's still not perfect. Like you get him Calvin Ridley, as Zensri's talking about, and maybe do some more to the tight end position next offseason. Yeah, talking about Trevor Lawrence being a star in this league. Yeah. So I think it's been tremendous overall for Trevor Lawrence over the last 5 weeks. I think this was a huge performance for Mike Caldwell's defense. Look, it hasn't been pretty for the Jaguars defense in a while. It's been really bad. I blamed part of that, or I excused part of that on the fact that they had been playing the Lions, Chiefs, and Ravens. You know, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, and the Lions, who have one of the best offenses in football. And I think part of what you saw today, them being able to hold the Titans to 22 points and force turnovers and all that, was them playing an offense that did not have the type of firepower that they've gotten accustomed to seeing over the last month. You take away Derrick Henry and you take away the Titans offense. Derrick Henry popped off in the first quarter. I think in the second half of this game, he had 2 or 3 yards total. props. Props to Mike Caldwell and all of his players on that defensive side of the ball. Because no, the Titans are not at full strength. No, they're not one of the best offenses in football. But you were down in the dumps on the defensive side of the ball entering this game. There were people out there questioning, should Mike Caldwell have a job right now? Does he need to be brought back in 2023? All these different things. Do you need to blow the entire defense up? But at least for this week, you can say, no, this defense, they played really damn well. They fought through adversity, had a really ugly first quarter, and after that, they shut things down. They had a great game. And you can say that Mike Caldwell earned his keep this week, and his entire defense did. And you can say, all right, is this something we can build off of? Because this defense looked like the defense you expected to see more often this year with the with the spending on that side of the ball from Trent Baalke, both in free agency and in the draft. You talk about that defense. It's all Trent Baalke free agents or Trent Baalke draft picks outside of Josh Allen. The entire defense is. So big win for Trent Baalke, big win for Mike Caldwell. Props to them. Props to Doug Peterson for always having this offense in a position to compete at a high level, in a position where if these players execute the way they're supposed to, that they'll be just fine. Jeff says, mad about the refs taking away that Agnew touchdown. Dylan chimes in and says, yeah, Agnew had a good game, but most of the plays got called back. Yeah, I'm with you. Jamal Agnew is such an important player for this team. And even if some of these plays get called back, um, which they did today, unfortunately, some of them looked like phantom calls, certainly on that big return. It is what it is. But Jamal Agnew is valuable as all get out for this football team. And he's the type of player when you have a really good football team, which I'm not saying the Jaguars are now, but when they get to that point, if they get to that point, throughout the rest of this season or into 2023, having a player like Jamal Agnew who can come in on offense and special teams and do the type of things he can do with his speed and quickness and just creativeness with the ball in his hands, it can set teams apart. All right. Blistindo says Wingard has been clutch. Wish he could get faster. Yeah, he's not getting faster at this point in his life, unfortunately, but he can be, in my opinion, a really good role player. I think we've seen that. Cabby saying Tyson had an excellent game with key knockdowns. Yeah, 3 big pass breakups for Tyson Campbell. Had a big rebound game after kind of struggling against the Lions and Amon-Ra St. Brown, who that offense, they did not slow down today. The Lions didn't either. So you see some of the offenses the Jaguars have struggled against, and you kind of get it, right? Blizz Tindo says replace Rayshawn. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. A lot of people are a fan of what Rayshawn Jenkins is doing. I like a lot of what he brings to the table. I don't think he really has the coverage chops to be making what he's currently being paid under his contract. Casey says, keep playing like this and we'll get a Monday or Sunday night game. Yeah, maybe. The Jaguars keep playing well. You see another quality offseason, and maybe you see the Jags getting a Monday or Sunday night game, like you said. Jeff said official number is 2 rushing yards in the second half for Derrick Henry. Yeah. I mean, the Titans' rushing attack has been getting slowed down by teams lately. I'm aware of that. We've seen that over the last month. But this is the Jaguars we're talking about. The Jaguars who don't beat the Titans in Nashville, who don't slow down Derrick Henry. And they went and did that. So you got to feel pumped about it. Robert says Wingard's fast on special teams. I mean, yeah, I would agree that. And he says angles when tackling are his kryptonite. I wouldn't disagree with that. But overall, he's not a great athlete. He's not. Kyle says, I feel the weight lifted. The sad look on Derrick Henry's face was my Christmas present. Go Jags. Yes. Love it. Way to dominate, he says. Yeah. Derrick Henry looking sad. Yuli's finest, right? A local kid who, if he had gone anywhere except for Tennessee, Jaguars fans and people from Jacksonville would be rooting him on like crazy. But, he ended up with the Titans, and that's the way things roll sometimes. That's kind of like Chigo Okonkwo. He's not a local kid, but I'm a big draft guy. I cover the draft every single year, and I thought Chigo Okonkwo, the Titans tight end, who had a pretty big game today, had some big plays. Loved him in the draft. It's like he gets drafted by the Titans. It's like, all right, not a fan anymore. Randy says, where are we at in the draft now? That's a good question, and things will get more settled out throughout the day. There's still a bunch of games going on right now. You got Sunday night football, you got Monday night football. But right now, the Jaguars at 5-8 are in the 11th spot, which is where they were a couple weeks ago. They had jumped up to number 7 after the loss to the Lions. They're now back at number 11 at 5-8. And right now, teams 9 through 14 are all 5-8. So whoever wins, whoever loses, you could have a dramatic jump up or down when you talk about the 2023 NFL draft order. Ben says Zay Jones potentially saved himself from being benched this game. Happy for him. I'm happy for him too. I like Zay Jones. Like he's brought a lot of energy and enthusiasm and personality to the Jaguars receiver room. But the bottom line is you have to play well. And last week he played really, really poorly. This week he played really, really well. And you love to see it. Absolutely. Debbie Lynch checking in, channel member, and my mom says Duval. Love it. All right. Blizz Tendo says we will be roughly 12 million over the cap. Cutting Griffin is a $6 million save, but who else? We don't need to dive too much into that, but cutting Griffin is going to save $13.5 million against the cap, not six. So that will help you out right there. And then there's other things that you can do, contract restructures, maybe moving on from Roy Robertson Harris, different things that you can do to get yourself back into a comfortable cap situation for 2023. But it won't be easy. They're going to have to tweak things, no doubt about it. Ken says, I love Jones, but he needs to quit dropping easy ones. Yeah, no doubt about it. He's got to catch the easy ones. And the thing about it is, I think what you've seen from Zay Jones over the last 3 weeks is kind of going to be emblematic of his career. There will be times where absolutely he will make big plays for you, but can you rely on that to happen week in and week out? I don't know, but we don't need to harp on the negative too much right now. Again, we're talking about all the positives here, and we're about to round this thing out. Again, the Jaguars have gotten to 5-8. They are now within 2 games of the division lead. They play the Titans again in the final week of the season. They play the Cowboys in Jacksonville next week, and then they've got the Jets on the road Thursday night football. Primetime game could mean a lot for the Jaguars. Then at Houston, where the Jaguars really struggle to win. And then again, Tennessee in Jacksonville um, in the final week of the season. And so the Titans need to lose 2 more games, and the Jaguars need to go undefeated over the final month of the season. And if that happens, the Jaguars will make the playoffs. Remaining on the Titans schedule, you've got Titans at Chargers next week. Chargers are a little bit down with injuries and different things, but it's in Los Angeles. So, that could be a potential loss for the Titans. They also play the Texans, who knows, that'll probably be a Titans win. They play the Cowboys in Nashville, and then again, play the Jaguars on January 8th in Jacksonville. That game could decide the AFC South if the Jaguars are able to keep this thing going. And, the Jaguars, as crazy as it sounds, they don't even have to go undefeated necessarily to win the division over the next 4 weeks. If the Titans lose 3 of these games, which seems very possible with the way they're playing right now, and the Jaguars win 3 of their games, then the Jags are in. Kind of crazy to think about. Jeff says Herbert will light the Titans up. Yeah, I think if the Titans defense plays the way they did today, Herbert should have no problem. Ben says the Texans play the Titans hard. Don't overlook that game. Yeah, the Texans played the Cowboys hard today. Cowboys were kind of trying to gift them the game a little bit with some of these crazy turnovers and mistakes. But yeah. Ben says our last chance to beat an NFC team is next week. Sure is. And while that's going to be a home game for the Jaguars, It might feel like an away game during parts of that one because there's going to be a lot of Cowboys fans in Jacksonville. So if you're local in Jax, if you have the ability to get to the game next week, I would highly recommend going and supporting your team and making them feel like they're actually playing at home. So we'll see how that goes. Debbie Lynn again checks in, says she was doing housework and checked the score mid second quarter. I was like, quit housework. Got to watch the game. Love it. Appreciate you, Debbie Lynn. Robert says, hit that like button. Thank you so much. Blizztendo says, love this win. We need to smack them again in Duval. Hell yeah. All right, y'all. That's going to do it for this stream. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm going to do another deeper dive into this game tomorrow morning. We'll rewatch the game. We'll dive into all this stuff. We'll talk about some of the negative stuff because you can learn a lot from wins, right? Like the Jaguars were not perfect in this contest. There are some things to clean up, no doubt about it. And we'll check all that stuff out tomorrow morning. But for now, enjoy this win, Duval. Jaguars are 5-8. They have life. It's all right there in front of them for the Jacksonville Jaguars this year. Thank you so much for tuning in. Again, hit me up on Twitter at Jordan DeLugo, Generation Jaguar at Generation Jag. You can hit the like and subscribe button here on YouTube, notification bell so you don't miss a show. You can also become a channel member here on YouTube, get some cool perks. You can check it out. Link in the description below. And you can also check out genjag.com, pick up some new Duval gear. Be on the lookout for a new drop on this upcoming Tuesday. I'm going to get a new drop out for y'all. So be on the lookout in your emails, GenJag social media. Check it out. Thank you so much for tuning in, Duval. I could not be doing this without y'all. Y'all's support means the world. Really happy for everyone. Happy for myself. Big Jaguars win today. Enjoy it for the next 24 hours. And hey, you can enjoy it all damn week if you want to. You're not a player. You don't have to prepare for the next game. Enjoy this as long as you want. The Jaguars beat the Titans in Nashville. Say it again, folks. Enjoy it. Thank you so much.